Hi guys, I'm in my sewing studio today and I thought it would be helpful to some to see how I insert sleeves. I am making a party dress out of some very slinky, slippery woven polyester. Not the easiest fabric to work with. And this dress calls for a set in sleeves. I'm coming at you ugly today. I have been under the weather for 1 week solid. My fingernails are ugly. Also wearing my ugly nightgown. So let's get to it, shall we? Today I'm working with pattern 8551 by Simplicity. And all three of the views have long sleeves, as you can see. The first thing you're going to need to do with your sleeve is crimp between the notches. Instead of doing the 2 lines of gathering stitches, you do 1 line of crimping. You set your machine on the basting stitch, and right along the 5/8 inch seam line, you go ahead and stitch by holding your finger behind the presser foot. And you force more stitches into a smaller space, which gives you a very gentle gather. And there is the top of the sleeve, just between the notches, and it is crimped. And that's going to give me just enough gathering to fit my sleeve in without doing the gathering stitches. In the top of my sleeve, I have cut a tiny little triangle there, and that marks the tip top of my sleeve. Now you're going to take your dress, which is right side out, and you are going to drop your sleeve. I'm sorry, the dress is right side in and the sleeve is right side out. You're going to drop it into your dress and line up the underarm seam. We have dropped our sleeve into the dress. It is now inside there, and I'm going to match up the underarm seams right there, and I'm going to pin that. That is my starting place on sleeve insertion. Then I'm going to come around and find the first set of notches and line those up. Now I know that some people do not line up those notches. So there are many schools of thought, if you will. I line them up and I pin them. Then I come to the front side where there is the little single notch. Single notches are always in the front and double notches are always in the back. So now I have those matched up, and I have the underarm seam matched up, and I have the double notches matched up. Then I'm going to turn this around and come to the top of my sleeve, which is, of course, the shoulder seam. And I'm going to find that little nip that I took. There it is. And I'm going to match that up with the top seam. Place them together and pin them. Now we've anchored the top and the bottom of our sleeve, and all we need to do is go around to the curved sides where we have our crimping in and start matching those up, going along and pinning them. So right here you can see where I've crimped it and it's lightly gathered, that it's a little too gathered. So if that's the case, you want to just kind of pull it out a little bit. Those stitches should give a little. And then you're going to continue pinning your dress to your sleeve. And if you need to use a lot of pins, I think that is fine. The main thing you want to do is have those edges meet up exactly. After you get all these pins in and your sleeve set in, is that you're going to baste it. And I know, I don't like Well, I used to not like basting, but now I feel like if they tell me to do it, I am going to do it. Starting at the underarm seam, I am going to start basting. I have a single thread needle, and I am just going to come around and baste slightly to the inside of the seam line. You can see with my green thread that it is just slightly inside that 5/8 inch seam line. Okay, I'm doing this by myself, so the people I live with have flown, they fled. Now, we're going to put our dress under the machine, and what I want you to see, if you can, is that the sleeve is in there, okay? And I'm going to have that facing up under the machine. I'm going to start at the underarm, and I'm going to line it up at 5/8 of an inch. Now, when you sew the sleeve into your garment, it's going to be very important that you pick up the garment and constantly smooth it out so that you're sewing with a nice clean seam line there. You don't want any bunching underneath it, or you're going to see tucks. So let's just start at the bottom, and we are going to come around, and then I'm going to move that dress part underneath, constantly pushing underneath so that my seam line is nice and clean. Now we're coming up the side of the sleeve where there's a little bit of that bunching that we have to ease in. And we're just going to steadily go, moving the dress and smoothing out the sleeve, stitching right along there and not taking any tucks. So if it starts to get a little bit bunchy, go ahead and smooth it out with your fingers. Okay, there's some pins in there that I have to grab. I keep them in right until I'm sewing that sleeve on. If you're getting a little tuck forming, lift up your presser foot and release the tension, and sometimes that tuck will just straighten right out. Now we're coming up around the crown or the tip top of the sleeve. We're going to have to keep everything moving. We have a lot of easing here to do, and so we want it to be nice and flat. And we just keep sewing around the top edge, smoothing things out. So remember, this part that I'm working with is the sleeve. I am sewing this sleeve in sleeve side up. Okay. Nice and clean, nice and clean. And we move the dress around underneath. Smooth out the stitching area right here with our finger. And now we're coming around to the other curve. And almost to where we started. We're back down here at the underarm seam. We go around the curve, we meet our stitching, and we back stitch it. All right, now let's pull it out and take a look at it. Once you have taken your sleeve out of the machine, you're going to want to go around and do a cursory check to see if you have inadvertently sewn any little tucks. We will have little puckers that we're going to iron out, but make sure we don't have any out and out actual tucks. When I press it with steam carefully, it's going to smooth out those little wrinkles that you see. To finish off this rough inside seam with all those raw edges. I'm going to take this to my serger and serge that off. If you don't have a serger, I would recommend pinking shears. Go around one more time between those notches. See there at that underarm? There's the first little notch, not exactly matched up. Oops, well, I tried. And there's the second little notch, and you can stitch again under there to reinforce it, and then cut off with pinking shears, and then your sleeve won't ravel. So I'm gonna go serge this. Well, I lost all of my serging video. My son will die laughing at me. I thought I had it on when I had it off. And when I had it off, I thought I had it on. Anyway, here's the seam. It has been serged, and I'm sorry you didn't get to see that, but if you have a serger, you know your way around a sleeve hole. Now what I need to do is really press this sleeve so that we don't see a bunch of these little wrinkles. Do you have a pressing ham? I highly recommend them. If you don't, this is a vintage Singer pressing ham. So what you can do with a ham, of course, is you can go around curves, and I like to sort of drape my dress over the ham right there at that sleeve seam. Take my iron, not too hot because this is a synthetic and it can melt. And then I'm going to just iron the little seam in there out toward the sleeve. So we drape it on our ham and we iron out toward the sleeve. And we just go around our sleeve and iron it down like that. The sleeve a little press while you're at it. Of course, I will be giving my dress a final press before I wear it. And here we are at the underarm, press toward the sleeve. And you'll just want to go around and give that a nice press. Again, I'm sorry for my appearance. I'm really actually making a video looking like this, wearing this. Here's the sleeve. Okay, the front of the dress. These sleeves were the final step. I actually went a little bit out of order with this dress. They have you putting the sleeves on before you put the skirt on. But I thought, no, I'm gonna put the skirt on and then I'm gonna put the sleeves on. I can't get them to sit up there. And then, of course, when you insert or set in a sleeve, you wanna make sure the entire sleeve is done. You don't wanna be hemming it after it's already in the dress. So make sure your sleeve is complete and then go ahead and insert it. I hope that that helped you, and I hope to improve with my tutorials. This is just a general overview of how I put in a set-in sleeve. Let's talk soon. Thank you for tuning in, for all your support, for all of your comments, and happy sewing. I'll be back soon. Bye.